Welcome back to Adventures in 3D with Anthony Ottawes. That's me. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how to interactively work with some materials, making on-click or hover or any other kind of action like an on change for a color picker, whatever, to impact a material. Hopefully it helps you. This is going to be a shorter video on specifically how to do something that someone asked for in the Discord channel. So let's get to it. So here you can see I've got a X-Wing fighter. It's a 3D model that's already been imported and everything. And when I click on something, it's going to do this little flashing till it turns red, kind of like, hey, here's the damage indicator. And I did that for multiple objects. And we're going to walk through how to do this. Oh, I did have some animated stuff for the rotation of the wings. But in general, we're talking about how to do these material changes interactively. The first thing you want to make sure that you do is have your model broken down into the components that you need to be able to interact with. And no matter if it's clicking on it, hovering on it, or you programmatically are changing something with a material based on reference, you want to still have your object divided into these discrete components. And it doesn't mean that you can't have them parented. So in all this stuff, and you saw how I was able to have the rotation, and that's because I still have this, this item is parented to the wing. So what you want to do is have everything divided up into their individual objects. You can see this by, if I start hiding them, have them divided up and then parent them to each other. If you need to know how to do that, that's pretty basic Blender stuff. Let me know, and I'd be happy to do something separately for you on that. But just have them divided up, and I do recommend having everything with a naming convention. Name it something that you're going to recognize, and don't just name the object. You're going to want to name the mesh, because oftentimes it's the mesh that you're referring to, not the object. You'll figure it out as long as you divide things into this stuff. One other thing to note while you're still in Blender is whatever this looks like in your wireframe in Blender this is going to largely be what it looks like when you do the wireframe in React 3 Fiber, except that it's going to be triangulated. So how we have all these nice quads kind of minimally outlines the object in Blender, it's going to look like this. If you did the triangulate modifier, that's pretty much what it's going to look like in React 3 Fiber. I don't know a way to remove that. It's just something to be aware of. If that doesn't work out well for you, then we can talk about a different way to do it. Rather than using the wireframe material, you might actually have to create your own new material that has the wireframe mapping that you want. But that being said, once you have everything in Blender done as you want it to, you're going to export to GLB. Once we run the Web3D import process, it's going to have two things. That it's going to put the results from your GLTF JSX inside of the models folder, and then it's going to have a pages folder which just wraps it with this setup component, and you can edit things there later if you want to, but these all map directly to what you chose in the Web3D UI. And then under the models, we're going to actually just start messing with stuff directly in here. Here you should see all of the names that you named everything within Blender is going to get imported. So you can see, remember when I said to name the meshes, not just the objects? Well, this is what happens when you don't. Right, so these are not the easiest things to remember, and that's because these are the mesh names. These are not the object names. So I named all the objects, and then when I brought them in to here, they still had their old mesh names. So definitely pay attention to the naming of the meshes, not just the objects. In fact, the meshes might be more important. First thing you want to do is we're going to add an on-click event to all the objects that you want to be interactive. Here's your on-click event. Super easy to do. All we're going to need to do is create this function, but this is how you tie it to the mesh. You can see here I'm in the mesh that I want to make clickable. We're going to say on click E. This is something you name, right? I use E for event. and we're going to pass in the object from the event to that function. So then that function, we know that it's the mesh that's being passed in. That's great. And we want to, well, for the purpose, for what I wanted to do, I wanted to keep track of what the old material was. But then I'm going to need to create a new material. And the new material is pretty simple. We're just going to import a 3 mesh standard material. This could be any material that you want. It doesn't have to be the standard material, but you give it enough information that you need. I wanted the emissiveness for the red to show. Otherwise you'd need lighting to see it. So, and then this is your normal hex codes that you would use in CSS. So you could easily connect this to the onChange event of a color picker or something if you wanted to have, say, a product that has customizable colors. You could easily do that with this same technique. And whenever your color change is done, it passes in the color, and then you then update the material to use that color. Pretty easy. And then the rest of this is just stuff that I wanted to do. I set up some timeouts, some timing to make it blink between the old material and the new material, and I end on the new material. And that's pretty much it. It was, like I said, this is going to be quick. It's easy, probably easier than you imagine when it comes to at least the on-click or an on-hover event that you can tie to easily. If you want to programmatically do this, not just through on-click or on-hover, then what you're going to want to do is do a use ref for your object, and then in the objects that you can use, you're going to say ref equals whatever it is that you have the use ref for. Like, let's say if it was POI, then you would put POI inside of this, and then programmatically for whatever event you're going to have trigger it, then you're going to use that use ref, so the POI dot current, and then you can say dot material, etc. So you're gonna do a lot of it the same, but the function for it is going to reference the object a little differently because you'll need something to still find that object rather than it being passed into the function. I hope that helps. Come to the Discord if you want to ask another question. I might make a video for you like this to help explain it. I might even research to figure it out for myself. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.